Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. I want to say hi to everybody out there in SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Land. And of course, hello to everyone out there in Facey Land, David, Dwight, Mike, Gamalier. I'm sure it's like Gamalier or something really fancy, and I just totally messed it up. But welcome. I apologize. Hi, Angie, and welcome to Money Talk with Melanie today. I'm really excited because our guest today is mompreneur Suzanne S Farmer, and she's going to talk to us about being an entrepreneur and also homeschooling her kids, and she's had an awful lot of success doing it. Hello, Holly Dunn. How are you? Good to see you. Ron, how are you? Chaz, hey. So I'm really excited about this. I think particularly for the Christian community, you know, it's always a thought in the back of your head about whether or not you should homeschool your kids. And as a public school teacher, I can tell you if I had kids, I would homeschool them. And I'm there in the belly of the beast. I'm just saying. So Suzanne's going to talk to us about how all that is possible. So I'm very excited to have her on the show today. Before I introduce her, though, a bit of housekeeping. Tomorrow I have some kind of meeting. Don't make me lie to you about which I didn't look at. Hey, Antoine Harris, Winford Elliott, Chris, hi. Antoine, entrepreneur in his own right. I need to have him on my show, as a matter of fact. Anyway, tomorrow I think I have a Federation of Republican Women meeting. So tomorrow is going to be a re-air. But then Wednesday, I'll have Wes Schaefer, the sales whisperer, on. And then Thursday, I have some other meeting that I'm supposed to go to, I think for the Federation. I said, oh, you're, you know, Donna McCleary is here. Jared Myers, hi. Kerwin, hello. Chris. I have some other meeting Thursday night. Leadership meeting for the county GOP. That's what I have Thursday. So that's going to be another re-air, unfortunately. Hey, Antoine, what's up? No, I'm serious about having you on the show, player. I'm not like joking about that. Anyway, so that's what's happening Thursday. And then Friday, I have Senate candidate Latresa Jones on. And she's running for Senate. And I said I was going to look up the state. I believe she's out of Florida. I actually met her at an event at the Heritage Foundation a couple of months ago. And I'm going to have her on the show on Friday. So I'm excited about that. So if you want to know ahead of time who's going to be on the show, the best way to do that is to follow me on Facey, on my show page at Money Talk with Melanie, or on Twitter at Money Talk Mel. And I'm also pretty much everywhere else where you cannot get away from me. And if you missed the show, you can always pick up the podcast in any of those places, just so you know. And hello, Sylvia and Keisha. How are you? All right. In Money Talk News, this is the Money Talk News Report. It's not like there's anything going on in the news or finance or anything like that. The government shut down, but has opened back up. So even since I did my show prep earlier today, it has opened back up, which is a good thing for the most part. Mostly because our military was not getting paid, which is ridiculous. And Congress gets paid no matter what. And that needs to change. That's ridiculous that they continue to get paid and our military doesn't. It should be the other way around. Let's pass something where the military gets paid if there's a government shutdown and Congress doesn't, since they're the ones who are not doing their job when that happens. That is some straight buffoonery. When I heard that, I was so mad. I'm like, are you kidding me? Ridiculous. But that's, you know, these are the people we vote for. This is what we vote for. It's 150% ridiculous that's even a possibility. I can't even believe that happened. The military, people who put themselves in harm's way, should never have to question whether or not they're going to get paid, because the government can't get its collective booties in order. Okay, let me get off my soapbox on that. It's really like makes me mad. Welcome, Seth. Okay. The other thing that's happened, well, there's several things that are happening, but you guys know I would be remiss if I didn't mention something going on with Amazon. It's actually been a while since I've talked about Amazon, which, you know, is one of my favorite companies. Amazon, feel free to send me a check. But their cashierless stores just made a debut. I want to say yesterday that they started. It might have been this morning. I have very long days, so I might have heard it this morning, and it might be happening today. But recently, I should say that today in Seattle, it's a convenience store with no cashiers or checkout counters. They use algorithms and computer vision to track purchases and charge shoppers. Now, you guys know I'm a big tech person. I teach computing environments on the university level. I taught computer programming. I'm a huge tech person. That said, I don't know Amazon, but if anybody could do it, Amazon can. I will say that they are not, they don't really make big mistakes, which is why they're Amazon. So I think that's kind of an exciting development. I mean, listen, unless it's an emergency, I mean, I almost shop exclusively at Amazon. Ever tried their subscription plan? It's pretty awesome. And 15% off your entire order if you subscribe to your basic, stuff that you need all the time. Just saying. It's just a little tip for you. It's one of the reasons why. And they're just really innovative. So I'm curious to see how that is going to work out. There's something a little unsettling about straight AI and no people, but but I don't know. I'm excited about it, but you're getting rid of people. Well, in one area, you're getting rid of people, but then there's other areas where I'm sure that that are going to be more developed because of this technology, which is why it's just very, very important that we update our education and things like that for upcoming job opportunities. One last thing, according to Oxfam International, the world got a new billionaire every 2 days last year, which is a new record. Go figure. Now, of course, they said that wealth is increasingly concentrated at the top. 82% of the money generated last year going to the richest 1%. But as I've always said, while I'm not part of the richest 1%, and welcome Chris Gaines, and thank you. Happy Sanctity of Life Day to you as well. They also, in order to make that kind of money, you have to risk that kind of money. You also have to work very, very hard. I haven't known a lot of wealthy people, but I've known a few, and I've known quite a few rich people. And I mean in business and in work, not because I'm hobnobbing with them. But I will tell you something that is common with all of them is that they work very hard. I don't know why the media tries to make you think that they don't. These people work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Not all, but many work very hard for their businesses and to build their businesses. So I'm not too bothered by that as long as they're getting honest. I'm not too bothered by the money that they make, and they employ people. That's the other thing. They provide the jobs for the rest of us. And if not for them knowing how to do that, many of us don't work. So just something to think about. All right, we're going to go up against our first break. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. When I come back, we're going to talk to Suzanne S Farmer, who is going to tell us all about being a mompreneur and homeschooling her kids. Very excited to have her here. We'll be back in a moment.
One of the annual sources of great pride for the citizens of Detroit is the North American International Auto Show, where the world's leading automakers and high-tech companies converge in the former motor capital of the world. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the The 2018 edition of the North American International Auto Show is chock full of exciting new automobiles like the Hyundai Velociter. The Ford Motor Company is on the muscle with a new 300 horsepower Mustang that moves like the wind. The mood among most automakers is very upbeat. Everyone I spoke with told me how relieved they are now that the crippling regulations along with corporate tax rates are reduced enough to allow American corporations and small businesses to be more competitive and innovative. This year's auto show press week opened on Martin Luther King Day and seemed to reflect the positive message of Dr. King, who emphasized working together and creating opportunities, etc. But true to form, a gaggle of leftist officials and community activists pretended to want to conduct a celebration of Dr. King. But what occurred was an embarrassing time of bashing President Trump and all Americans who want to protect our borders. Thank goodness most of the international media outlets ignored the madness. Unfortunately, the Dragon Media American outlets reveled in that hot mess. I'm Ron Edwards. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from taxmama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit taxmama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's taxmama.com.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and our guest today is Suzanne S Farmer. Over the last 14 years, she's been able to creatively balance her business, her freelance writing, and her editing projects while providing a top-notch education for her children. And she loves being a teacher, and she uses her teaching skills to mentor others who want to learn how to earn extra income online. So I'm very excited to have her. And without further ado, Suzanne Farmer, how are you?
I'm doing well, Melanie. How are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. I am awesome sauce. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience about yourself that I didn't mention in your short bio?
I am Jamaican, and I have been here for the past little bit over 16 years. I've been homeschooling for 14, and that's probably about it.
That's excellent.
All I can think of.
That's excellent. I love it. So tell us a little bit about what led you to homeschooling your kids. I feel like everybody, that's kind of a dramatic thing to do, right? And everybody has their why, as far as why they would decide to homeschool their kids.
Well, my why was more along the lines of my husband's why. And what I mean is that being from Jamaica, I had no idea what homeschooling was. So when our older daughter was about 5 or almost 5, I broached a question of school because we were living in North Carolina and the school system where we lived was pretty bad. And so I asked him what his thoughts were, what we were going to do about school. And that's when he told me that we were going to homeschool. And my reaction was, we're going to do what? What's that?
Okay.
So he filled me in, and apparently he had had a really bad experience in public school, and so he had decided pretty much after he graduated from high school that he wanted his kids to be homeschooled. That never happened to be mentioned before, this conversation. So when he filled me in, my next question was, well, who's going to do that?
So
and
wait.
Yeah.
So during the whole like dating, getting to know you thing, the subject of, by the way, you're staying home and homeschooling the kids didn't come up, is what you're telling me? That's what you're telling
pretty
me?
much. Yeah. The idea of staying home, yes, he had mentioned that, and I was fine with that.
Right.
Because that had been my intention to do that. But the homeschooling bit wasn't mentioned at all until this particular conversation.
That's a significant piece.
Yeah, especially being from Jamaica. So that was the next question. Okay, so he said, well, you're going to do it because I have to go to work. And so I said, so you expect the Jamaican girl to teach American history, American geography, all of that good stuff, and how is that going to work again? And he said, oh, well, that's why you have curriculum. So he had it all planned out. And I was in the dark until this particular moment.
Well, listen,
pretty funny.
At least you got a man with a plan. He didn't just throw you out to the wolves, right? He had a plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that story. That's fantastic. And so I guess he must have known that you were the kind of woman who would be flexible enough to handle it, or he would have never married you and had kids with you, I'm sure.
I guess, yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah.
Because
I guess so.
I mean, if it's something that's that important to him, my feeling is that's something he vetted out to see if you would, I don't know. I would think he's a very smart man, sounds like to me. So, but you don't, most women, or I think a lot of women who are doing the homeschooling thing are like, okay, I'm just going to do I'm going to homeschool my kids and that's what I'm doing. But you actually have a business as well. You're also an entrepreneur.
Yes, correct.
And how does that work? What is your business, and how does that work with also homeschooling your kids? Full disclosure, I'm a public school teacher. So like I know what goes into teaching a little bit. So how does that work?
Well, basically, the girls have always been my priority. So everything is scheduled around them. And so business is done in the nooks and crannies of the day. So usually school is done in the morning. And depending on what grade I was homeschooling, that determined what time we were done for the day. And when my older daughter was younger, and I have a 19-year-old, she'll be 20 in April, and I have a 7-year-old.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah. So when my older daughter was younger, and it's the same for my little one, my 7-year-old, when it's quiet time or nap time, that's when I did work. So if I had writing assignments for the newspaper, then that is when I made calls or when I wrote my newspaper stories. If I had customers or clients to check in on, that's when I did that. And so literally in nooks and crannies of the day, sometimes it was 15 minutes or 30 minutes at a time, but that's what I used to do whatever I had to do that day, because the first priority was always school.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, with the homeschooling situation, are you required to have a certain amount of hours, or is it covering a certain amount of curriculum?
Well, I'm in Virginia, and
okay.
So each state has different homeschooling laws. And when we started out, all we needed to do was to provide a notice of intent, which said that we were going to be homeschooling. It gave a rundown of what subjects we were going to be teaching. And then at the end of the year, we needed to provide a test, a standardized test result. And that was sent to the school district as well. I'm not homeschooling under that statute anymore. So I don't have to do the testing if I don't want to. And I pretty much stopped that with my older daughter when we were in, I think she was in 5th grade, because, kind of a funny story again, I messed up and ordered the 6th grade test, and she blew through that and was in the 99th percentile. And so I was like, okay, so what am I going to do when she's actually ending 6th grade?
And I hate to say this, but that happens to administrators too. Don't feel bad. And they're ordering for an entire grade. I'm not saying how I know that, but I've been in education for. Before I was a teacher, I was an executive assistant in a school. So it happens. Don't be too hard on yourself. It happens. That happens. But so you do have to cover basically a certain amount. They don't make you like I don't know, have your kids sit in school for 6-7 hours and you have to justify that time or anything foolish like that.
Not in the state of Virginia. There are some states that have more requirements, and so they do require you to homeschool a certain number of days, and there are others that need to see a portfolio every semester or at least once a year.
Mm-hmm.
But not here, and definitely not under the statute that we're homeschooling under.
Let me ask you, since you've been doing this for so long, do you find that to be a good thing or a bad thing, that they're not requiring assessments and standardized tests and things like that from you as far as the monitoring of your kids' education?
I think it's fine. I mean, I think that's the way that it should be, that there doesn't need to be a lot of regulation or a lot of assessments, because what you hear in the news, we'll call it that, is the horror stories. But
she said, I'm just laughing at you said the news, we'll call it that. I just thought that was funny.
Well, remember, I used to be a journalist. So I'm glad that I'm not calling myself that anymore.
Amen, sister.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a different show.
But honestly, the majority of homeschool parents go far and above any requirement because we care about our kids. And so, to make parents jump through hoops is really ridiculous. There have been studies shown that there's no correlation between a parent's educational background and how well their kids do when they graduate from homeschooling. So really the assessment, the constant assessment and portfolios and regulations are really unnecessary in my book.
You know what? I can understand that. I can see both sides of that, and particularly, like I said, being in the belly of the beast, so to speak. I see a lot of, unfortunately, I see a lot of parents who are not very engaged. But if you think this process through, no parent in their right mind would have their kid home all day if they were not going to teach them. I mean,
exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense, right? That doesn't make sense.
No, I mean, I've had so many people say, well, when do you get your me time if your children are home with you? Or when do you have time to run errands? Or, all of these other questions. And, there are other parents who really don't want their kids to be home when, the kids are on holidays. And I love my kids. They drive me crazy, of course, sometimes, because that's what kids do.
Right.
But I actually enjoy being around my kids and talking to them and helping to develop them. And, childhood goes by really fast. I mean, if you had told me a few years ago that high school would have been gone in like a millisecond, and that I would have a college sophomore who I hardly ever see, I would have said, no, that's not possible. It's not going to go that fast. So I take pleasure in having the time with my children.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. And that's why, as I was thinking about, because, of course, the teacher in me is like, well, you need assessments because, they brainwash us. you need assessments and benchmarks and all that fun stuff. And I always thought, too, I have this thing about, people who don't understand why someone would want to homeschool are quick to criticize that, as I'm sure you're aware. And I was wondering if you felt the need to have like kind of that na proof my kid's awesome.
Well, I do like having some proof, and one of the schools that my daughter applied to, one of their assistant deans of administration, I took her reading list to him, and I took her high school transcript. She was a junior at the time, and just had him look it over and tell me if, the format was acceptable and that sort of thing. And I thought I was really being clever. She was doing Caribbean studies. Actually, it was during her senior year. So she was doing Caribbean studies because I had not had a chance to fit that in the rest of the time that we had been doing school. So I said, you know what? You're Jamaican. You need to know your history and your geography and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
So we took a year and did that.
Good for you.
And that was important.
I love that.
For both of us.
I love that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
That's stellar. I mean, I don't want to gloss over that. Okay, go ahead.
So this gentleman, and I didn't think about it from his viewpoint, which was my error. So he looked at it and he said, well, why are you studying the Caribbean? Why are you not studying Virginia history?
Oh, jeez.
And so my daughter explained, and I don't think he either didn't hear it or he didn't comprehend it. So he asked it a few minutes later, and so she politely explained again. And so he basically asked me if there were any outside grades that could corroborate the grades on the transcript. I said, oh yeah, she's done French online, she's had all of her sciences, sure. And so he said, oh well, if you could provide us anything that would help to verify her grades, that would be really helpful. And I said, oh, no problem. So about, maybe 2 weeks later, I sent off in the mail return receipts requested, 120-page packet. It had her entire reading list for high school. It had her transcript, of course. It had, I think it was like a 12 or 15-page biology, or maybe it was, I think it was an EMP lab. All of her syllabi from all of her online classes that she had done from each science and the French, 3 years of French, all of the test results, and all of her music certificates, because she had participated in piano, what do you call it? I forget what they're called, but basically piano competitions, skills, and such, for about 6 years. So all of that was there. So yeah, and I dropped it in the mail and I said, there you go. Now, I don't know if he ever saw it, but it gave me great satisfaction, because if you give me a challenge like that, yeah, I'm on it.
And the thing is, public school, and I know it's probably odd, and just so you know, I stream live on Facebook as well, and people in the chat are saying, somebody just said, you're really brave to tout homeschooling. You're a public school teacher. Aren't you like? And I said, ain't nobody afraid of Big Brother. Not me. I'm just not. I just don't care. But, because it's important. And if it's important, it is what it is. But this is important. I don't know. You said your husband had a bad experience in school, and that's why he wanted his kids homeschool. There are many people that are Christians, and they just don't want their kids in that environment, which I will tell you, as a Christian myself, it it's a daily trial what you are subject to from a spiritual perspective, being in that environment. And so I'm a big proponent of homeschooling. You know, when my fellow teachers hear that I am, you know, pro school choice and that I'm a teacher, I say to them, I imagine a world where that doesn't revolve around me, where there's other things that are more important than my pension. And there are. So, you know, just like, you know, like you said, your husband, it was important to your husband. Many families have their own reasons of why these things are important. But for me, I can see as an insider, and particularly someone who worked in a private school for 14 years, so I had something to compare it to. I am just a big advocate of parents having choices of where to send their kids so that they get the best possible education, even though, you know, I get fed by, you know, teaching. It's what I do. It's actually what I love to do. It's unfortunate that the environment is stinky because teaching in and of itself is fun. At least I hope you found it fun.
Yeah, it was, and it still is. And, you know, these will go down as some of the best years of my life.
Indeed. Now, let me ask you, if you don't mind, if you don't want to answer this question, I will fully understand. Did you have an extensive educational background? You have a PhD, something like that, you know, master's, what, you know, in order to teach at home? Because no, teachers are big on that.
Yes, I do know that, yes. I have a bachelor's degree, and I did some work towards my master's, and I will complete that in the future. Can't say when.
Nice.
So I have done some post-grad work, yeah.
Well, that's fortunate for you, because I'm sure, as you know, you probably, you know, that quote unquote real teachers will question your. If we were on video, you would have seen me do the air quotes. Real teachers. Listen, I'm in the belly of the beast, and I know it's buffoonery. We'll tell you that you need degrees and, you know, all of these things. No, you really don't. So
yeah, you know, I know a good number of teachers, and they are homeschooling, and I know other teachers who wish that they could homeschool. And I think teachers in whether private school or public school, I think they fall into two camps. I think there are those who are open and those who are not. I don't think there's any in between.
No, there really isn't. We're up against the break, and when we come back, I want to talk more about the entrepreneurial stuff while you are homeschooling. But I love what you said about some teachers being open and some aren't. You really have two hard line philosophies when it comes to that. But we're up against the break. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is homeschooling mompreneur Suzanne Farmer. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome to this week's Money Talk Minute with your business diva, Melanie Collette. While companies are feeling generous due to the Trump tax cuts, this week is a great time to talk about ways to bump up your income. First, when getting a new job and negotiating your salary, get the company to name the figure initially. If you give away your current pay from the door, you won't know if you're aiming too high or selling yourself short. Getting a potential employer to name the figure first will likely get you more money. Second, negotiate for benefits. Companies will negotiate things like work hours, your official title, vacation time, how much leave you get, even the projects you'll work on. Last, discuss your salary in terms of company needs instead of your wants. Your employer wants to keep a good employee, so if you're negotiating for a raise, focus on the value that you bring to the company. That's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. Remember to listen to Money Talk with Melanie, which airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East and 2 p.m. West on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio.
Hello, I'm BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and obstacles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Okay, and we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is homeschooling mompreneur Suzanne Farmer, and we're talking about homeschooling and managing a business with young children at home. So what advice do you have for people like yourself who are like, you know what, not only am I awesome enough to homeschool my kids, I am also going to have a business while I'm at it? What would be one of your number one tips for those people?
I'm really big on taking what you're good at, taking what you're gifted in, and what you're passionate about, and learning how to make money with that. So for a homeschooling mom who wants to have an income stream while she's homeschooling her child or children, I suggest different things to, different moms. So for one mom, it might be that she might choose to edit or to write for others. And for another, it could be something like tutoring math or tutoring French, because, she wants to share some of the things that she knows, and she doesn't mind teaching others. For others, it might be something like being a virtual assistant. If you have the gift of organization, and if you have some skills and, different things like WordPress or Microsoft Word or Excel or whatever, then, that might be something that mom could do. And for the mom who, likes to shop, then she may enjoy something like mystery shopping, where she can go out and she can, relay to the management of that store or that business how they're doing. So it's really about finding what you are good at, what you're passionate about, because I really believe that, almost everything that someone is interested in or passionate about, they can find a way to earn money from it.
That's true. That's true. Now, do you find that being highly organized and like time management and things like that are factors in your success?
I think so. I mean, to a certain degree. I'm not super organized. I'm not completely disorganized. I'm kind of, I guess, in the middle. The things that are important are organized very well. So, going back to that story about, of mom grades, I was able to pull that together very easily because I had all of those things at hand. The hardest part was scanning everything in because I wanted to send that to all the schools that she applied to.
Oh, that's even more,
yeah,
that made that story like more beautiful. I didn't realize that that's what you had done. Like, I just assumed it was like, already on a computer somewhere. That you're my kind of chick. That because I totally, no, that's a huge compliment, because when somebody challenges you like that, you're like, you know what? Here you go. I got some proof for you. So now that I understand that you had to scan all that information and you just didn't have it like handy from files on the computer, that's a whole new ball game. My respect level just lifted even more. That's good
I
stuff.
had everything printed out, but because there was another university, both of these were public universities. The private universities were not nearly as bad as that.
Right.
So for the public universities, I took special care. And the other one, because we were going to visit the school and, I wanted her to be able to visit knowing that she had been accepted or not. Obviously, if she hadn't been, then we wouldn't have bothered to go.
Right.
But I scanned everything in and emailed it, and I think it took about a dozen emails to get all of those documents to him.
Right. Right.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So when I do. I just really wish I could have been like a fly on the wall to see his face when those emails came in. Because educators are in their own bubble. They really are. And I don't know if you probably have sensed this in doing this for so many years as you have. But they really have this sense of superiority that nobody else can do what we do.
Absolutely.
And that's just not so. That just is not so. And so that's why I really dig the fact that you did that. So guess what? And you taught somebody else that day.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Absolutely.
I sure as heck had a wonderful time doing it. I had a great big smile every time I sent an email or a mail that packet off.
I'll bet. So. You had everything. You had everything to be proud of, no doubt about it. What mistakes, if any? I'm sure there were none. I'm sure everything went perfectly the entire time that you and while you're homeschooling now, that nothing ever happened and nothing unforeseen that you might have done differently has happened, or is that not so?
Never. That is never the case.
So
I wish.
Is there anything that you'd like to tell people who are thinking about doing this that you wish you had have known in advance that you know now?
Yes. I think the biggest thing, and it's not going to be applicable to everyone, but one of the biggest mistakes that I made was that I was this extreme box checker. And so, when the curriculum said you had to do 10 things, I didn't feel like I could leave any of those 10 things off for a while. And so it burnt my daughter out, and it burnt me out. And we still did it, but it took some of the enjoyment out of it. Now that I am essentially getting a do-over, and I've seen the results, I am a lot less of a box checker now. I'm not as worried because I know that this is something that I can do. And I know that, she will learn the things that she needs to learn. There are always gaps.
Right.
And I think that's another thing too. A lot of people who look on at homeschoolers say, well, what if you can't teach this, or what if you can't teach that, or, what if you're not good at this? And there are two answers to that question. One is that there are a lot of resources out there. So for me, I don't speak French, and my daughter wanted to learn French. And so I found her a good online academy, and she did 3 years of French. She excelled, and as a matter of fact, she did so well that last year when she went to Europe for a piano, well, it wasn't just piano, but a music festival, she was able to order food, make sure that she and her travel partner, another student, were able to sit together. She pretty much did everything, in French. And then when she got to Germany, she was able to handle herself in Germany as well. And she had only had one semester of Germany, which was, at university. So there are lots of resources out there. And the other answer to that question is that there are always going to be holes in someone's official education. So, you may finish the book or you may not. But whether you finish the book or not, you may not have completely understood something. It doesn't mean that you can't go back and learn it at a later point. And I've been told by several people that, a lot of times in school and public school, private school, the teachers don't manage to finish the book.
Oh, yeah.
The child still moves on.
Yep. Very true.
So, the important thing really, in my mind, is teaching a child how to learn and giving them that skill and making it fun for them to learn so that wherever they are in life, they can continue in their learning. Because, if we're alive, I believe we should be learning something new.
Amen.
And if the child knows how to learn and enjoys learning, then they're fine.
Agreed.
And that's one thing, that my daughter has commented on. She has seen other students who have kind of struggled as they've been in university because they're not sure how to gather information. And she knows very well how to get information. So she knows how to learn.
Exactly. That is very true. I'm so glad that you shared that because it's so important. You're not a real teacher until you learn how to cut stuff out of the curriculum. Until you're like, not doing that. Okay, we'll keep this. Not doing that. Yeah. No, we listen. I understand why the politicians and administrators do it, but it is not realistic. And what's funny is even they know it. Like they know it when they put it there. But so, that it's not always going to happen. It just isn't. And so that is a very key point. And listen, in your defense, we all learn that the hard way. Every teacher learns that the hard way. I don't know. Every teacher, when I was a first year teacher, I wanted to do everything. You can't. Just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. So that is definitely great advice. Listen, if any of my listeners would like to get in touch with you, and you're a big hit, by the way, lots of chatter going on in the Facebook stream. How would they get in touch with you, get you on their podcast or show, or use your editing services or writing services? How would they do that?
I'll give you my website.
Okay.
It's real easy. It's jamama.com. So J-A for the Jamaica, of course. MOMMA.com. I have a blog there, and then there's a contact form.
Excellent.
And then they can also look me up on Facebook. I'm on the Suzanne Sucram.
That's why I couldn't. Okay, I'll look for you. Say it again.
It's SU, K like Karen, HR, A like Apple, M like Mary.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. I'll tag you when I post the podcast.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
It's been an absolute delight, and good luck with that little one. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melanie.
You have a great night. You're listening to
Thanks.
To Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. And I just want to thank everybody who is listening in SHR Media Land and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio Land, as well as everyone on Facey. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you all enjoyed that as much as I did. That was fun. And remember, all of this is very important because after all, it is your money.